This video, I want to tell you how you can reprogram your brain. Now, I know that sounds a bit sinister, but actually it isn't. It's all fairly straightforward. What it really means is how you can train yourself to think in a different way than you currently do. And this generally falls under the heading of cognitive behavioral therapy, otherwise known as CBT. And CBT is something that is well used in lots of different countries. It's becoming more and more popular because it doesn't rely on needing conventional psychotherapy. It doesn't involve having to take any drugs. It just is a way of changing your thought process for the better. And it involves meditation, and it involves reciting mantras as well. Now, I know a lot of people think this is all hippie and a bit new age and perhaps something that was popular in the 1960s but isn't popular anymore. You know, something that hippies used to do when they weren't driving around in Volkswagen microbuses and taking LSD and calling everybody man, you know, that sort of thing. But it's not actually. It is very, very ancient. It is quite an ancient way of thinking, quite an ancient way of changing, well, literally changing your mind. And meditation is really just a way of controlling your thoughts. And you can use it to rid your mind of negative thoughts and distractions. And you can also use it to direct your thoughts in more positive, fruitful directions. And there are many different types of meditation, but the ones used most in CBT are mindfulness and Zazen. Now let's just take a look at those. Let's look at mindfulness first. And mindfulness, also called vipassana, is a type of meditation that comes from Buddhism. And it's also the form of meditation that's perhaps most widely used in the Western world today. And as I was saying, a good example of this is being its use within CBT. And the goal in mindfulness is to be aware and to be present of your own thoughts and to reflect on them. And this form of meditation doesn't encourage you to try and empty your mind. You know, lots of types of meditation, you have to try and think of absolutely nothing. But it's very difficult because you find thoughts come creeping into your mind and you try and suppress them and try and keep your mind completely empty. But it's very, very difficult when you first start out, and some people never master it. But with mindfulness, the objective is simply to let your thoughts drift by like clouds in the sky. And this allows you to become more aware of what thoughts that you tend to have. And in so doing, you're better able to spot negative thought patterns and so on that might be causing problems. If you're constantly telling yourself off, if it's constantly negative, then you can recognize that and you can start to take remedial action. And this type of meditation has also been shown to reduce anxiety almost as effectively as anxiety-reducing drugs. But perhaps the biggest advantage of mindfulness, though, is that it's not as challenging as trying to completely empty your mind of thoughts, like I was saying earlier on. So it provides a great starting point for those who are interested in learning more about meditation. And once you master mindfulness, you can go on and try other different types of meditation as well. Now let's talk about Zazen. Now, Zazen is a term that essentially means seated meditation, and it's sometimes referred to by the modern Zen tradition as just sitting. And this is an incredibly minimalist sort of meditation, which once again makes it ideal. And the most important thing about Zazen is assuming the correct sitting position or correct pose. Like this gentleman on the right here, you want to sit down on the floor, you want to tuck your feet up underneath you, you want to keep your back straight, your neck straight, your hands sort of gently clasped in your lap. Close your eyes and just relax. Just let the thoughts drift through. It's very similar to mindfulness in that way. And the simple act of sitting completely still is almost sure to result in a calming effect and to gradually clear your mind. So there's no need for complex instruction beyond just sitting. For some people, the lack of guidance is going to make this an approachable and enjoyable form of meditation, but for others, it can be frustrating and might leave you lost. So you do have to experiment. Okay, let's talk about mantras, because again, this sounds something that is a bit sort of hippie and Eastern and, a bit New Age and that sort of thing, but really it isn't. With a mantra, what you do is you just repeat a phrase over and over to yourself, one that's going to give you the desired outcome. And you can do this during meditation, or you can do it whenever you have a spare moment, really. Whenever you're not thinking about anything else, you can start to repeat this mantra to yourself. And over time, it's going to drill down into your brain. A good one that lots of people in business use is, I'm very lucky, money, wealth, and good fortune flow to me in abundance. And that puts you in a positive frame of mind. And it's a bit like, I don't know if they did this when you were at school, you had to write lines when you'd misbehave. I will not such and such. And you'd have to write it a number of times. And the feeling behind that is the same thing as a mantra. It was actually trying to make you get the message into your brain because you're saying it and you're writing it over and over again. And generally at school, these were fairly negative. I remember from my own school days, all the lines I used to have to write were always, I will not, or I must not, whatever. But you can use that in your adult life in a more positive direction. In fact, it said that your mantras should always be positive. It's always, something that you want to attract towards you, rather than something that you want to repel or some negative type behavior that you want to stop. Which leads me on to the next point, which is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is the name given to a maxim that like attracts like, which New Thought philosophy is used to sum up the idea that by focusing on positive or negative thoughts, the person brings positive or negative experiences into their life. This belief is based on the idea that people and their thoughts are both made from pure energy, and the belief that like energy attracts like energy. So thinking good, positive thoughts makes good stuff happen. And the converse is also true. Negative thoughts bring about misfortune, which is why I'm saying that your mantras should always be of a positive nature. And you might be a bit skeptical about all this at first, but it does work. I can personally testify to that. But either way, it can't do any harm, so go ahead and give it a try. And when you do all this, you'll find that your thought processes change, and really you're reprogramming that giant supercomputer that is your brain.